Good morning from paradise. My name is Crypto Amaru. We're back with, I guess this is a daily show now that I want to start doing. Yesterday we touched on why did the crash happen from a macro standpoint, sort of a political standpoint, and where we go from here. Today's video, it was a little bit bearish yesterday, the video. Today's video, I want to tell you guys why I am still ultra bullish on this industry. And I'm going to give you 4 or 5 reasons why you guys should still be long crypto. I don't mean leveraged long, I just mean long-term mindset. Before we get into that, though, a couple of housekeeping items. Crypto Paradise is the only channel that is giving away 3 free nights in paradise. Hit us up. Get your free vacation in the Paradise Pad down in Tulum, Mexico. We also have a mini app. We're giving away rewards left, right, and center. So check out the mini app. Get involved, get engaged, and you can earn that way. And the third thing I want to mention is the SURF token. The Crypto Paradise SURF token is launching very soon on none other than Pulse Chain. And we're going to have a lot of content, a lot of information dropping about the SURF token, but fundamentally, you will hold that token to enter into exclusive pre-sale opportunities. And just by holding it, you're also going to earn daily rewards and monies vis-a-vis the reflection sort of token tax embedded in the smart contract. I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole with the SURF token, but check it out. It's coming probably mid-March. All right. Why am I still bullish? Few reasons. Maybe we'll go through 5. We'll start with regulatory. We will talk macros, of course, inflation, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk Bitcoin strategic reserve. We're going to talk Trump. We're going to talk all different sorts of reasons why we're still bullish. But the first one, I think really the biggest one to me, is this absolute paradigm shift, this regulatory sea change we are seeing from the highest levels of government, starting with Trump, and of course, flowing down to the heads of the administrative agencies, particularly SEC. We know under Biden, the SEC was trying to kill crypto. That is not even a secret anymore. Operation Choke Point 2.0, that was really through the CFTC. But that, in conjunction with the enforcement actions that the SEC was taking against likes of Coinbase, Binance, Kraken, Ripple, the list goes on and on. They were attacking this industry and trying to kill it. Thank God Trump was elected and he's put an end to it. What's happened from a regulatory standpoint in the past? Trump's only been a president, by the way, for a month. It's mind-boggling, or whatever it's been, 2 months. They've dropped the Coinbase case. They just stopped the investigation that they were doing into Robinhood. That was probably going to lead to a lawsuit had it been Gensler's SEC, but no longer, right? They just settled, the DOJ settled a case a couple days ago. This was a little under the radar with OKX, a big exchange out of Asia. Settled the case, right? $500 million fine, peanuts for the likes of these exchanges, right? Slap on the wrist. They, I believe, stopped the investigation or lawsuit into Kraken. If not, it's probably happening. They stopped the lawsuit or investigation into OpenSea. They stopped the lawsuit, or it was an investigation again into Uniswap. So they're no longer going after DeFi, right? Operation Choke Point 2.0, which was when the regulators were essentially saying to the banks, you cannot do business with crypto companies. They wouldn't really give reasons. They'd have this guidance, we don't, blah, blah, blah. But that was the subtext of it. And the banks felt like they had no choice from a risk and compliance standpoint to not do business with crypto companies. Great news. That policy is done. Operation Choke Point 2.0 is out of the window. So look, I could go on and on from a regulatory standpoint how crypto is open for business. Regulators will not go after good faith, law-abiding, non-scammy, non-fraudulent crypto businesses and investors. Huge. Why is this huge? Well, I got a lot of friends on Wall Street. What's one of the biggest things that was preventing the banks and the financial institutions and the hedge funds and the private equity guys from getting into crypto? Because they see the money. They want to be in the money. They want to be a part of it. They want to have a piece of the pie. It won't be their only thing, but they want to be in the industry. They were worried about regulations and the regulators coming after them for running afoul of some vague law that the SEC was making up. Now the floodgates are open. The party's on. Green light. You can enter. You can do what you will. With the caveat, and here's one thing I absolutely love that the Trump administration has done, in conjunction with the sort of, we're letting law-abiding companies and citizens and so on from being a part of the industry, we're going to create a task force to go after the scammers. I love that because this industry is still rife with scammers. So way too many frauds going on, way too many exit scams, way too many pump and dumps, way too many manipulated meme coins and other assets. So there's still a lot of, criminal sort of activity happening in crypto. And we need a regulator who's going to go after those bad actors. That gives, think about that, right? That gives you even more trust, knowing that, hey, I can be a part of this industry. They're not going to come after me because I'm doing everything right, but I know they're going to go after the bad guys. That gives me even more confidence. So wonderful things, incredible things happening on the regulatory front. And it was funny that amidst all the chaos and the market crash and blah, 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 you actually had a drip, drip, drip of positive news. This lawsuit dropped, this case settled. That news flew under the radar a bit because the market crashed, but huge nonetheless. Okay, so regulatory sea change. Reason number one, I am still long and bullish on Bitcoin and crypto. Number two, we talked yesterday a lot about interest rates, monetary policy, quantitative tightening, quantitative easing. Check out yesterday's video if you want a full primer on that stuff. But, despite the fact that right now there's a lot of uncertainty, we don't know what's going to happen with these tariffs. We don't know what's going to happen with immigration. We don't know what happens with inflation. Fundamentally, we don't really know. But I have a feeling that after it's been almost 2 years of very high interest rates, the highest interest rates we've had in 10 years, have been in place now for about 2 years. That is a long time to be at interest rates of around, whatever it's 5, it's at 4.5% now. That is weighing on the economy. That's what it's designed to do. That's what it has been doing. It's harder to get a home loan, right? It's harder to get a business loan to expand your company. It's harder than hire workers. It's everything just kind of, they put sand in the gears of the economy. And that's the point of it. That is why they put the high interest rates up. That's why the Fed does that, because inflation was high. And the only way to slow the economy down is to make borrowing go up. That's the levers they pull. So zoom out long term, it's been a high interest rate regime for a long time. And it looked like the battle against inflation had mostly been won. If you rewind just a few months ago to the end of 2024, that looked to be the case. Inflation was around, it was high twos, right? And it was trending down every time they did a reading every month or whatever. And so that's why they felt confident of cutting the rates twice. They did 2 jumbo cuts, if you remember, at the end of last year. And that helped, along with Trump winning, to pump, crypto assets in the stock market. And then uncertainty starts to creep back in because you have Trump talking about tariffs, immigration policy, people feeling like, maybe inflation's not really gone. I think we had one reading that beat expectations. So everyone's, inflation's back. I don't think long-term inflation is going to be back. It doesn't make sense that all of a sudden, after 2 years of high rates and a bogged down economy, although the economy's doing pretty well, but a muted economy, they're not juicing the system. There hasn't been a lot of quantitative easing outside of those 2 jumbo cuts. How is it that all of a sudden we would flip to a bunch of inflation? Now, inflation may not drop to 2% in the next reading, but I think it's going to continue to slowly trend down because logically, that's just what is going to happen. And outside of a seismic shock, I don't know, what the impacts of these tariffs are. my guess is that it's a longer term impact rather than an immediate boom. Okay, everything's 20% more tomorrow because Trump did a tariff on Canada and Mexico. That's not what's going to happen. It'll be slowly trickling in, things getting more expensive over time. Not good. I hope it doesn't happen. I hope he walks it back. Let's just be honest. But even if he doesn't, it's going to be a slow impact. And maybe some other things he'll do to counteract. So bottom line, interest rates have been high. Inflation's going to be trending down, continually trending down, slowly over time. And the Fed will eventually feel comfortable enough to cut rates again. That is what is going to happen on the quantitative easing side. It's going to happen. They're already talking on this topic as well. The Republicans are going to pass a large budget, $4 trillion budget or something like that. China's probably going to do some stimulus soon, or they've been talking about it for a while. So my guess is we start to see the money supply go up, quantitative easing, interest rates going down, dollar should also become weaker in that environment, and that will be favorable for risk assets. When that all goes down, it's going to be a slow thing. It's probably not going to be overnight, all this stuff, right? But that's a long-term trend. Inflation is trending down. Interest rates should follow. Risk assets should go like this. So that's reason number 2. Reason number 3. The Bitcoin Strategic Reserve and its sort of corollary bills and legislation happening across the United States. I believe there are about 30 states now, 20 to 30, mostly the red states, that have legislation having been drafted, working their way through, committees, and then the House vote, and then their Senate will vote, and then, the governor would sign it. One of those I think is going to break through. And when it does, you're going to get, first of all, a lot of media attention on that. That's a big deal. I don't care if it's the Fed. I don't think it's going to be the Fed to go first, although we'll see. We'll talk about that in a second. But states are moving fast. And I saw just today, I believe it was Oklahoma, their legislation for their own Bitcoin Strategic Reserve had gotten through basically step 1 of their legislative process. And, steps 2 and 3 would be coming. And so one of these, if it breaks through, and I believe one will at some point, that is going to signal to, first of all, the other states, the federal government, other governments around the world, that Bitcoin Strategic Reserve should happen and can and will happen, and the citizens will support it. So I think one of those bills is going to become law, and it's going to be a cascading effect. Okay, so Bitcoin Strategic Reserve. I don't know if the federal one is going to happen first. I mean, if you go watch my video yesterday, Trump could sign an executive order tomorrow saying, we've studied this issue. Step 1 is we are going to hold the existing reserves that we have, or the assets, Bitcoin assets that we have vis-a-vis confiscations, and use that to create the foundation of the reserve. He could do that tomorrow. Whether that's a legal executive order, I don't really know. I don't think he really cares based on his other executive orders, whether it's constitutional or what. So he could do it tomorrow. I don't know if he will, but he could. I think the states maybe have a better shot at getting this done faster based on what I'm observing, right? Okay, so that's the third reason. Fourth reason, continued institutional adoption of Bitcoin and crypto. And by that I mean, we'll talk about the hedge funds and the financial companies in a second. But mainly I mean the MicroStrategies of the world. There's one in Japan. There's really hundreds of these, about 80 now, I believe. I just saw a graph, and hopefully we can pull it up in this video, of how many companies have adopted a Bitcoin reserve strategy for their own monies, right? And we just saw now rumors of GameStop potentially allocating $5 billion of their money to buy Bitcoin. So far, that strategy from a company standpoint has worked wonders for these companies. Look at their stock prices. And then tell me, how is it that other companies aren't jumping all over this? And slowly, many are. So I think that adoption curve keeps going up. and to the right, and you have more and more companies buying into and hodling Bitcoin as a part of their own sort of reserve strategy, right? If you're sitting on billions in cash, which a lot of companies are, would you rather hold something that is the best performing asset of the past 10 years and has a finite supply that can never be inflated outside of above 21 million ever Bitcoins with a known inflation rate? Or would you rather hold US dollars, which we know are getting inflated away at a rate of 2 to 3% a year and will continue at that rate in perpetuity because the government prints more and spends more than it takes in taxes? I would rather hold Bitcoin, or at least some of mine. I mean, you can have investments in treasuries, you can have other investments and stuff, and that's fine. That's probably smart diversification. But you should have some of your company monies in Bitcoin. Microsoft voted it down. They're dumb. Maybe they'll be back under, maybe it'll happen under new leadership. But a lot of these forward-thinking companies run by young people or savvy boomers like Michael Saylor. Shout out to Michael Saylor. Or adopting a Bitcoin reserve strategy for themselves. And that's going to continue. That chart's going to continue up to the right. Those are long-term buyers. Those are long-term holders. That's wonderful. Okay. Let's talk about the hedge funds and the financial institutions, the ETFs. ETFs, frankly, are a double-edged sword. It's basically been revealed, or everyone's come to the realization that most of the buyers of these ETF are not, your mom and your dad, trying to add a little Bitcoin to their 401k or retirement account. These are hedge funds. These are hedge funds buying in on one hand, shorting on the other. I mean, doing all their financial voodoo because they can make money in the market going up or down. And they have been using their outsized sort of financial position in the markets to manipulate things up or down, to secure bigger bags or whatever, make more money. That's what they're there to do. And frankly, it's been to the detriment of a lot of people in this space, particularly those who are involved in leverage trading. I do not recommend getting involved in leverage trading. The Wall Street guys have more money, more power. They will shake you out. They will wreck your ass. Do not even try to do leverage trading. Just, if you're listening to this channel, just buy and hold Bitcoin. Honestly, lowest risk strategy. If you want to dabble, get involved with Ethereum, maybe some alts, sure. Leverage, man. I don't know a lot of people have done well in that game. Usually they've lost everything. So the Wall Street guys are better at it than you. They'll manipulate the markets. They'll move it up and down. It's been a double-edged sword. The positives of it are that their liquidity is now in the market. They're in the markets. I mean, and it's created a sort of veneer of respect, and it's a validation of this industry. And I've been in this space since 2018. For most of my tenure as a part of this industry, people questioned whether the industry would actually even survive a big crash. Right? Every time we had a crypto winter is this stuff going to zero? Question really that everybody thought hard about. Like, is this real? What is this crazy Bitcoin thing? Is it really going to work? That question is gone now because you have the ETFs, because you have BlackRock, because you have all these massive financial institutions involved in this game. It's solidified. It's legitimized. It's a real industry now that is not going away, especially now it has the blessing of the federal government. So, double-edged sword of these institutional players. But I will say this. And I'm not sitting here saying I'm some expert on how these hedge funds truly operate, but it is my understanding that after dumping the markets, after there's a crash, there are vested interests in the hedge fund world and the big players, the miners, et cetera, of the prices going back up again. And so that leaves me to my fifth reason why I'm still ultra bullish on crypto is after you have these big capitulation events, it's not normally the case that you have another one and another one and another one and another one. And I don't know how many people on crypto Twitter are now suggesting that we're moved into the next crypto winter. That would belie all logic and historical trends. The historical trends indicate that, first of all, the 4-year cycle is intact and that This is the year after the halving, which is always the parabolic year. Yes, it's been off to a rocky start. We know that. But that's actually not outside the norms either. If you look at the historical trends of, January and February, although by the end of February, things usually start to go up. But January and February, the year after the halving, tend to be down. And then slowly we're going up, and then we get that crazy parabola. So we're not outside of that. We haven't, the 4-year cycle has not been invalidated. And there is a lot of money in the space now from an institutional standpoint, the miners, etc., that will eventually need the price to go up again. And so if you believed that they manipulated it down, and there's a part of me that does believe that, actually. If you look at, Binance dumping a bunch of shit, hedge funds putting a lot of Ethereum shorts, withdrawing a bunch of money from the ETFs. Either they're scared and acting like retail, which doubtful, or they're doing what they can to bring the price down. They'll make money on it going down, and then they'll pump it, and they'll make money on it going up. So, for all those reasons, regulatory, Bitcoin strategic reserve, right? We talked about the companies buying into crypto and how many are buying into Bitcoin right now. We talked about the ETFs. We talked about the institutional adoption. These are the big picture reasons why I am bullish on Bitcoin and crypto. And the one thing I'll leave you with, most of this discussion actually is really just related to Bitcoin. Altcoins are a whole different topic, and I don't necessarily want to get into it in this video, but my quick take on it is that until the market goes bananas and we are at $150,000 Bitcoin, for example, when ETH is really pumping like crazy, alts are going to underperform. And memes are going to struggle. And anything with a lack of utility is going to struggle. And I don't know what the next big trend is in alts. And if anyone tells you what they think it is, they're just guessing too. Nobody really knows what's going to happen to alts. Your particular alt, I don't know if it's going to survive. A lot won't. That's just how it's always been with altcoins. But there will be winners. There will be categories that do very well. There will be 10, 50, 100x projects that come back into the space, but only after the rest of the stuff, only after Bitcoin and ETH start running. Once we get that liquidity back, that bullishness back, that greed back, alts will run again. Now, I don't know if all of them will survive and do 100x or whatever. Probably not all. But some will, and hopefully you're in some of them. And if you watch this channel, you've already probably done a bit well on alts because we've had some winners over the past 7-8 months of us working with some projects. So alts are a big question mark right now. But my take is that once liquidity comes back, bullishness come back, alts will eventually come back too, and you guys will do well. So let's not despair. Let's not get too caught up in the moment. Let's think big picture. There are many reasons to be bullish on this industry. And I hope you guys like this video. See you on the beach. Peace out.